Hello, I'm going to episode number 479 of the TEW 2020 Challenge Run. This is going to be SmackDown for week 1 of February 2024. And yeah, this is the first pay-per-view episode of SmackDown since the Royal Rumble. You know, Florence on this brand did win the match, so she's going to WrestleMania. She's got to make her decision. Io retained the Women's Championship against Tegan Nox. LA Knight retained against Bronson Steiner. As we continue the build towards Elimination Chamber in Dublin. And, you know, we did announce on the community page, if you saw it, that the Women's Tag Team Championships will be on the line on that show. Io and Dakota of Queendom will defend in Queendom Civil War against Piper Niven and Tegan Nox. And, yeah, a whole lot more to be announced for that show in the coming weeks. But without any more further ado, let's jump straight into tonight's show. Oh boy, it feels like so long since we've had Queendom Law kick off a show. But we do, of course, kick off with the remaining contingent of Queendom. That just being Io, Dakota, Utami, and Cammy. You know, but there is still 3 belts in the ranks. Okay, because the Royal Rumble was supposed to be a special night. The Royal Rumble was supposed to be the night where you all thought the demise of Queendom was greatly exaggerated. And don't get me wrong, it still is. But we had a rough night on Saturday night. Of course, the one person I can, of course, count on is the woman to my right, the Women's World Champion, the Joshi Judas, the Genius of the Sky. When she did indeed put down that traitor Tegan Nox and retained her Women's World Championship. And then there was the Royal Rumble match itself. And the Royal Rumble match itself was, 40 women to fight to see who gets the chance to wrestle for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. It's a prize everybody wants. It's a prize that we wanted. Not only did Queendom want the opportunity to become Women's Champion, they can go in and cash in on Julia or on Becky. But we needed Queendom to win that so that Io Sky, she could have the day off at WrestleMania. If Dakota was to win, or Utami would have won, they would have picked Io. Or they would have picked Io and they'd have laid down for the Genius of the Sky because their queen gets to keep a hold of the title. But instead, that win went to Florence. Florence, of course, who's had, a rather tumultuous history with us in the past. Given, Io beat her when she tried to cash in and take the championship from Queendom. But that shouldn't have been the case, because I don't know if you were watching, there was a 66% chance that Queendom were going to win the Royal Rumble when the final 3 were Florence and Queendom's own Utami Hayashishita and Dakota Kai. But that's not what happened, is it? Because we suffered a setback. And that setback didn't come in the form of Florence. That setback came from within. She turns to Dakota. She goes, Dakota, a lot of us were skeptical about you joining the group because, you'd been an op of Queendom for so long. And you said you'd vowed to take Queendom down. But it's good to see you finally learned your lesson that wasn't the case. But the Royal Rumble, you got a bit ahead of yourself. You and Utami could have eliminated Florence, you'd have been the final 2, and then you could fight out to see who the best is. But you couldn't wait, you had to dump the heir apparent out, because you got selfish. You thought that you were better than her. But you didn't actually think that, did you, Dakota? Because if you thought you were better than Utami, you'd have happily gone one-on-one with Utami in the final 2 of the Royal Rumble, thinking that you had what it takes to eliminate her and go to WrestleMania. But you couldn't do that because you knew that if it came down to the heir apparent and you wouldn't have got that opportunity. So instead you decided to screw the whole thing up, not just for yourself, but for Queendom, and allow Florence to go to WrestleMania. And not only that, Dakota, during the Genius of the Sky, I suppose I better address the elephants in the room. Okay, yes, Tegan Nox, Piper Niven. Piper at the Royal Rumble. She planted her sword into the flag of Queendom. She treaded on the flag and she walked out with that Judas, Tegan Nox. And now I hear that, in Dublin, my favourite city on earth, Io and you have to defend your tag team championships against Tegan and Piper. So Dakota, there are a lot of things that we have to sort out here. Because quite frankly, Queendom is on thin ranks right now. But don't worry, I trust the three of us to be better than everybody. So here's what's going to happen, Dakota. Tonight in the main event, you're going to face Piper Niven. You're going to beat Piper Niven. You're going to tell Piper Niven, show her that she made a mistake just like Tegan did by stabbing us in the back. And then you're going to go to the Elimination Chamber and you and Io are going to retain those championships. And you're going to be by her side at WrestleMania. But there's also another, situation that unfolded at the Royal Rumble. Asuka. Our old friend Asuka, she's back now and she thinks she's got what it takes to step to Queendom. And that's why, Utami, you must do what has to be done. You must take down Asuka by any means necessary. Make sure that Asuka is no longer a threat to take down Queendom. I believe in you. And as for you, my queen, the Women's World Champion, the Genius of the Sky, you can have a good rest. Because Elimination Chamber, it's going to be a big night for us. WrestleMania is going to be even bigger. We need you 100% for both. So, tonight's your night off, and tonight we really assess where things stand within Queendom. Then her and Io sort of walk off together, and Utami and Utami and Dakota sort of like awkwardly look across at each other. Because, no, Dakota did fuck up, she sort of threw it all away. Got greedy, I guess, you could say. Among other potential motives she could have. But, we don't know why. But all we know is that it will be at the Elimination Chamber. Io and Dakota against Tegan and Piper in Dublin. A fun fact, because I don't think it's actually been mentioned ever. Because it's never actually been relevant to anything apart from now. Cammy is actually Irish. Like, the regen that is Cammy in the game is actually from Ireland. So that's like, she's going to her home city as well. So that's another Irish person on the show. But anyway, we cut from Queendom lore. Tegan and Piper are supposed to be off screen. I don't know why they're on screen here. We then cut to ads. And then we come back. It's Queendom again, but this time they're walking through the hallway. And they're regrouping. So you get the plan tonight. Tonight, Dakota Kai's gonna kick Piper's head off and, prove to her that you don't mess with Queendom, and then we're going to go on and reassert our dominance. In fact, with Tegan and Piper out of the ranks, I think it's time that we maybe start looking to recruit potential new members. So, again, if you have any ideas on that front of people who aren't going to stab Queendom in the back, then, do hit me up. And they sort of stop and just start talking. And Kurt goes, tonight, leave it all to me. It's my mess. I'm the one who's got to clean it up. And then they turn around and Florence is just there. She's laughing. She goes, just hanging about, Royal Rumble winner privileges. I get to sort of, appear on all three shows. Being on Raw, spoke to Becky, great respect for her. But Io, I see it in your eyes. I see exactly what you're thinking. You got lucky once when I cash in that Money in the Bank, so you better pray that I don't come to choose you at WrestleMania. Because this time there'll be no Julia to cost me the championship. It'll be just you and me. If I want you to do that. Because quite frankly, I think that a lot of people need, to be avenged. A lot of people need vengeance on everything that you've done, this stranglehold that you've kept on this division for so many months. It's just whether or not I'll be the one to do it. And she walks off. And he sort of looks confused. And she goes, come on. And Dakota goes, actually I've got to, prepare for my match. So, I think I'll just, I need to go get ready. But I'll catch up with you girls later on. You go back to the Queendom room and I'll catch you up in a bit. They walk off and they sort of linger on Dakota. And she goes and walks the other way. AT rated match. A tag match was actually announced last week, but it's been so long ago that I almost forgot. Stacks and 2 Dimes of the D'Angelo family taking on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Of course, Kev and Sami do retain. Kev pins Troy Donovan with a stunner to make defense number 5 of the SmackDown Tag Team titles. 87 for Sammy, 78 for KO, 48 for Two Dimes, and 46 for Stax. Yeah, that's not too shabby. And then see Kevin and Sammy cut the mic. Like, that's another tag team that we've defeated on our tag team championship run here on SmackDown, you know. The competition on this brand is a whole lot more challenging than we thought. But maybe that's because we're the champions and we're raising everybody, you know, a rising tide, raising all ships and all that. But we implore the entire SmackDown locker room, you know, who's next? You know, we're heading into WrestleMania. We need the best challenge as possible for WrestleMania if we're going to take these championships into that show. So if you think you are the best, if you think you're the best tandem here on SmackDown, prove it. And then they just walk out and leave, yeah. So, you know, open line laid down. Kevin and Sammy looking for the next challenges for the tag team titles. I will say, the reason SmackDown's taken so much longer than the other shows to come out is because I had to do some restructuring on my WrestleMania card on my SmackDown end. Like 3 specific matches I need to like sort of fiddle around with because of situations out of my control. And yeah, so, you know, I had to restructure everything. So, you know, if certain title pictures and certain matches over the next couple of months on like the men's division on SmackDown feel like they've sort of come together at short notice, it's because they have. But, you know, it's fine. You've got to do what you've got to do sometimes when there's people that you can't book anymore. Then cuts backstage to Kayla Braxton. She's with Trick Williams. And she says, Trick, I don't even know where to begin, you know. Obviously, I know exactly what's on your mind, and, you know, I don't even know what to say. And he goes, I know what I want to say, Kayla. You know, Melo, he was my brother. I came up here. Me and Melo came to SmackDown together. Okay, I elevated Melo to be him in NXT. The reason why he got that big break here on SmackDown was because I was there to elevate him. And Trick Melo gang, they're inseparable. And I thought, you know, if Tricky Willie breaking out on his own and Melo doing his thing as World Heavyweight Champion, you know, soon we'd both hold gold and it'll be, you know, like a new 2-man power trip. Trick Melo gang dominating SmackDown. But I guess Melo, he didn't see it that way. He had to flee to Raw, you know, to get out of my shadow, because apparently we couldn't coexist together like brothers. And he had to pay Omos to take me out. But Kayla, I may not be Omos. I can't just walk over to Raw willy-nilly. You know, who's going to stop a 7'3" guy from just walking in? Security? He'll beat him up. But trust me this, Melo. Because I'm over here on SmackDown, you're on Raw. I ain't going to let that stop me. I'll wait for as long as I have to give you what's coming to you. Because, you know, if you thought you were in Trick Williams' shadow before, just you wait to see what happens next. And then we hear sarcastic clapping, and in walks The Miz. He goes, bravo, Trick, bravo. You know, I've always liked you. I've always thought that you had this certain pizzazz. You know, you had this charisma, this undeniable charisma, and the fans are trying to whoop that Trick. But now, I see you here waddling and crying like a big baby. You see, throughout my years, I've had many friendships fall apart, and I've been the reason for most of them. Carmelo Hayes was simply doing what he had to do to get ahead, Trick. Okay? Mr. Money in the Bank with his best friend in his shadow, you know, going on to become World Heavyweight Champion, beating John Cena at WrestleMania. I know all about that, Trick. So I know exactly what's going on. Carmelo Hayes, he's doing what he's got to do to become the next Miz. The next 2-time Grand Slam champion. And you're just the new Alex Riley. And Trick's like, yeah, no. You think Melo is, you know, the new Miz, huh? There's going to be one thing that both you and Melo are going to have in common when I'm finished with you both. That's just you're both going to have been whooped by that Trick. So if you want to run your mouth to Tricky Willie, I'll see you out in that ring later on tonight, and then we'll see who's who and who's him. And he walks off. So yeah, Miz and Trick later on tonight. We get highlights of the Royal Rumble. Seth Rollins and CM Punk, that shit in the Royal Rumble. And we then cut to a sit-down interview Pat McAfee has done with Seth Rollins. They recorded early in the week. And he goes, Seth, you know, thank you for sitting down with me at this time. You know, I hear you've got a lot on your mind that you want to say regarding, you know, the events of the Royal Rumble and a certain somebody. And Seth just laughs and he just goes, Pat, how long have I been here now? What, 12 years? You know, ever since I debuted as part of the Shield, you know, I was the Future, I was Mr. Money in the Bank, the Architect, the Visionary, all of these things. And these fans, these WWE fans who come here every week, they sing my song and they cheer me on. We've had a bit of a rocky relationship, to say the least. Some of them absolutely hate me. Some of them can't stand the sight of me. Some of them think I'm the worst wrestler to ever step foot in that ring. And those fans, they're entitled to think that, Pat. They're wrong, but they're entitled to think that. Well, on the other hand, you've got the sea of people who do adore me. I come out every week, they sing my song. Don't think I don't hear them, because you can't not hear them. Those guys who have stood by me thick and thin when I was struggling at my worst to when I was thriving at my best. But there's one thing you cannot say about Seth Rollins, Pat McAfee, and that's that I don't love being here, that I don't love this place, that I don't put my heart and my soul every time I step into that ring, whether it be on Raw, SmackDown, or on a premium live event. So to hear about CM Punk, you've all heard the same stories I've heard about CM Punk over the years. You know, it's been a decade since he was last here. You know, we'd all moved on. We'd all not only accepted that he was never going to show his face back up in WWE ever again, but we relished that. We were moving on from CM Punk. We were moving on. Business was booming. We never had to call back on Fragile Phil to save the day ever again. But all of a sudden, Phil, his meal ticket started to run out. He started failing at every walk of life he ever did, so he decided he was going to turn back around. He was going to swallow, eat all that crow, and he was going to return to WWE after everything he said about this place. Went on record, publicly trying to tear this place down, the place that I helped build. So, Pat, a lot of these people love CM Punk. Hell, I love CM Punk. CM Punk, he's great. You know, he's the best in the world, you know. He's great for business and advertising. But what these people don't know Phil. I know Phil. And I don't want Phil here. If Phil's going to come back here after 10 years of trying to diminish me and my work and everything I've done to help make this the best damn company it can possibly be, and walk back in here and get himself a main event of WrestleMania over the guys who have been here the last decade busting their ass, Pat, that's not going to fly, because quite frankly, in that scenario, Phil, you know, everything he was moaning about all those years ago, he became what he hated. So I'm here taking a stand against CM Punk, because CM Punk does not belong in WWE. After everything he's ever said. He's a hypocrite for coming back, and I'm going to expose him for the fraud he is. And now some of you, I mentioned earlier on, some of those fans really hate Seth Rollins. Those people, they're going to be on CM Punk's side. They're going to say, Punk, shut this whiny ass up. But the people who love Seth Rollins and love WWE and, you know, take exception to every single time CM Punk tried to throw dirt on the name of this place, they're going to understand where I'm coming from, Pat. So to answer your question about CM Punk, I'll do whatever is necessary to cut that cancer out. And you're more than welcome to cheer for Phil. Like, I get it, you don't know him. You just see CM Punk and you think, yeah, it's awesome, CM Punk's back. You're more than welcome to boo me because I'm trying to get rid of your favorite wrestler. But the ones who stand by me know that I'm nothing if not determined. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do something. And I will enlighten everybody on how toxic and how cancerous CM Punk is, and why he should not be in WWE, because CM Punk does not care about WWE. CM Punk cares about one thing, and that's CM Punk. 78 rated match. Tiffany Stratton against Candice LeRae. Just a big women's showcase match here. But Tiffany does pick up the win in 13:54 because Bianca Belair comes out and screws Candice. Stop me if you've heard that one before. Also, I want to operate under the assumption that Candice, she went a Royal in the Rumble, and, she took that table bump, so she's probably still not 100%, so Tiffany can, pick her off. 89 for Candice, 72 for Tiffany. Big win for her. I can't remember if she's actually beaten anybody in the SmackDown 6 before. This might be her biggest win on paper so far on the main roster. I don't know. Then after the match, Montez Ford and Ora Mensa are even out there. They're ordering Bianca to beat Candice's ass. Candice is outnumbered. Shakara Jackson and Bianca Belair in there attacking her. Bianca just keeps, later over KOD. Because, you think you're smart, huh? Costing me my WrestleMania main event, huh? Well, bitch, I'm going to make you regret ever crossing the EST. I'm going to make you wish you were never here on SmackDown. Because this is my show and there's nothing you can do about it. And she sort of just walks off, leaves Candice laying. Then see Death from Above, US Champion Pistolero, Grandma Elite, Clint Dorado. There with Cynthia Crespo, they're talking about the US title and Pistolero's impressive performance in the Royal Rumble. And Pete Dunne walks up. Goes, right, that title, I want it back, that's been my championship. And I was great champion for the last couple of months. And I see you here, I respect the hell out of everything you do. But to remind myself who I am, who the Bruiserweight is, I need that championship. So, if you're a fighting champion like I was, you'll put it on the line against me next week. And Pistolero just steps off, shakes Pete Dunne's hand, and it's official. Next week, for the United States Championship, Pistolero will defend against the former champion Pete Dunne. Speaking of champions, out comes LA Knight, And he goes, let me talk to you. Now you see, the Royal Rumble is an exciting paid day on the WWE calendar because you get to see not only one but two Royal Rumble matches to determine who gets to go on the road to WrestleMania. And this year they've quite a special episode of the Royal Rumble because Gunther he won the Royal Rumble. He gets to pick who he wants to wrestle at WrestleMania. Now will he pick Roman Reigns? Or will he pick the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes? Or just maybe he wants to go toe-to-toe with a megastar. He wants to go toe-to-toe with LA Knight. Yeah. Now, at the Royal Rumble, Bronson Steiner, that kid, he gave me a hell of a fight. And, for a Big Four premium live event pay-per-view challenger for the World Heavyweight Championship at his young age, this early in his career, that kid's going to be a star for years to come. But he's the future. I am the here, and I am the now, and I am the World Heavyweight Champion. I will be the World Heavyweight Champion because there's not a man in the history of WWE who can hold a candle to me on this microphone. Yeah. So at the Elimination Chamber, send your best. Adam Pearce, line them up, I'll knock them all down, plant all their asses in the ground with a BFT, because there's only going to be one man who leaves WrestleMania World Heavyweight Champion, and his name is LA Knight. Yeah. Out comes Swerve. He sort of just gets in the ring. He just chuckles. He goes, you done? You done? When I was growing up in this business, I always thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to get to WWE? Wouldn't it be cool to step in the ring with the likes of The Rock, the likes of Stone Cold, Steve Austin? Well, those guys, they were a generation before mine, so I probably won't ever get to learn that luxury, but I can see Team Rock. LA Knight, me and Drew have had a lot of battles over the last few months. Ilya Dragunov, he's got himself involved. Montez Ford, he's got himself involved. But I don't recall me and you ever wrestling one-on-one for that World Heavyweight Championship. Now, LA Knight, you're going to take exception to everything that I'm about to say because you think you're the hottest rising star here in WWE, here on SmackDown. But you're not, LA. I am. This ain't LA Knight's house. It's Swerve's house. And that championship, while it may currently be LA Knight's championship, it won't be for long. Because that will be Swerve's championship. You name the time. You name the place. And I promise you, just like John Cena, I'ma put your ass in the ground. I'ma take that World Heavyweight Championship. I'm gonna take it into WrestleMania and beyond. As Swerve rises to where he was always destined to be at the tip top of this industry. While your flash in the pan ass falls down to where you are always supposed to be. Obscurity. LA Knight, if I had a dime for every loudmouth young son of a gun who came out here and told me that I'm a little bit like The Rock, guess what? I'd still be making millions, just like I am already. It wouldn't really make a dent to my overall bank account, but the fact is this. You can come out here, you can call me whatever you want to call me. You can call me Stone Cold Steve Austin. You can call me The Rock. You can call me anything, but there's one thing you have to be calling me, and that's champ. Now, Swerve, you put John Cena down. We haven't seen him since. It's mighty impressive. But John Cena, that's one thing. LA Knight is a whole different animal. And if you really want to step to the megastar, rub shoulders with me, then I'll make you famous, kid. So how about it? I don't see anyone else left in line other than your dumb ass. So why don't we go back there? Why don't we talk to Adam Pearce or Boldsky back there, and we can get this made? LA Knight versus Swerve for the World Heavyweight Championship in Dublin at the Elimination Chamber. Yeah. And Swerve, he just laughs. Because writing your own death warrant, huh? Usually guys like you, they fear obscurity. Flash in the pants like you, who got hot for a little bit, they fear their 15 minutes of fame going up in smoke. So I admire that about you. You've taken matters into your own hands and you realize that it's gonna come to an end. So you volunteered a deadline. See you at the chamber. And he leaves. Swerve vs LA Knight Elimination Chamber World Heavyweight Championship match. Should be a fucking hoot. Then see Candice back. She's on her phone with Johnny Gargano. Like he's on speaker. And he goes, I'm just, Bianca and Tez and Aura Mensah and Chikara, they just, I just want it to end, I've almost forgotten how this even started at this point. It's been so long that Bianca just had this grudge against me, and it just doesn't seem to end. And no matter how many times I beat her, she keeps coming back. She thinks she's got all this power because she won a franchise player match like a year ago, and it's just I need somebody. And then we can hear Johnny start talking back when Candice opens the door, and laying on the floor when she opens the door is another one of those notes in her locker room. She's like, "Oh wait, Johnny, hold on, I've got a letter, a note." And she puts the phone on the table and she reads it. And Johnny's like, "Well, what does it say?" Candice goes, "Huh." He says, "Everything is still on track. We just need to make sure that the last major hurdle can be overlooked or jumped over. If you want to find out who sent this, fly to Dublin for the Elimination Chamber, because that's when we enter the end game. Now I need you to go and talk to..." Really? And Johnny's like, "Well, what is it?" And she's like, "I gotta go speak to somebody, Johnny. I'll call you back when I'm done." And then she hangs up on him and then goes to find this person, whoever it is. Yeah, you know, I'm big on, like, this could be a bit of a tangent here, but, we're on the actual, like, SmackDown when they did the damage control turn. I was like, oh, you know, it's a bit silly. I mean, they retconned it in the end by, like, doing the Japanese angle. But it's like, well, why is Ego, Kairi, and Asuka backstage talking to each other in English? Because, like, that's not realistic. So, like, whenever I do angles like this, I like to set up, like, realism. Like, Candice would not walk into, like, the dressing room and, like, read it out loud unless she had somebody to talk to. That's why I had Johnny on the phone, so she could read it to him. Because, you know, I guess as a storyteller, it's like making your characters feel more human instead of just, like, you know, robots that are part of a performance. Same reason why I have the translator in Queendom in the first place. Because, like, I need to, you know, convey what Io is saying to the audience. But Io would speak to Utami in Japanese because, you know, they would in reality. So then having non-Japanese speakers in the group then leads you to that way of having the translator that can translate it to them, but also to us. Which is sort of the same role Johnny served here. He's like, she's on the phone to Johnny so she can read the letter out to him, but also tell us what it says. Like, just little things like that I just... I maybe harp too much on, but, you know... 79 rated tag match, anyway. Daniel Bryan and Miles Bourne pick up the win over Death from Above's Grand Metalik and Lince Dorado. Bryan submits, apparently pins him with the yes lock, but no, he submits him with it. 43 for Miles Bourne, 95 for Bryan, 91 for Grand Metalik, and a 64 for Lince. Yeah. He's for a weight change. Like I say, what's the matter with Lince Dorado? Because he's normally worse than Metalik, but not by that much, but it's because he's going through a weight change. I was wondering if he was declining, but apparently not. But yeah, Daniel Bryan and Miles Bourne do pick up the win. After the match, Bryan takes the mic and he goes, "This is the start of SmackDown's new era. Gone are the days of, you know, the silly guys walking around here making this place home. This is the place for real professional wrestling. Now you may not like me anymore, but quite frankly, I don't give a damn. Because I know what my goal is here on SmackDown. That's to groom the next generation of wrestlers. And Miles, he takes my tough love. Because he knows he needs to get better. And tonight that proves that we are better than Death from Above, those former tag team champions." And I heard earlier on tonight, you know, our esteemed SmackDown tag team champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn say they were looking for challenges for the tag team championships. Well, I think me and Miles, after tonight's win, we are those challenges. So Kevin, Sami, next week, if you want a challenge so bad, you defend those championships against Miles and I on SmackDown. Mic drop, yeah. Daniel Bryan and Miles Bourne looking for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, it seems. Then see Kayla with Bronson Steiner. And Kayla says, "Bronson Steiner, you know, you came up just short at becoming the World Heavyweight Champion back at the Royal Rumble." And Bronson goes, "Normally a guy like me would come to you, Kayla Braxton, today and make a lot of excuses. And don't get me wrong, you know, I have a few. But now's not the time for excuses. You see, normally guys like me, they come out here and they're sore losers. But I heard earlier on tonight, LA Knight, he said that, you know, maybe I was in over my head in that Royal Rumble match and I beat myself." Pause. Phrasing. And quite frankly, Kayla, that may have some element of truth to it. You see, when I went for that spear and I crashing through the barricade, that was a rookie error. Those are sort of rookie errors that I shouldn't be making. I should be, you know, destroying anybody I step into because my name is Bronson Steiner. I am a Steiner. That's what I do. I break things. You know, I used to put it in my name. But I guess I was just careless. But next time I won't make the same mistake twice. So LA Knight, or whoever the World Heavyweight Champion may eventually end up being, by the time I get back there, you're on notice. This is far from the last you've seen of Bronson Steiner, and soon I will be World Heavyweight Champion. I've just got to believe in myself. Because a mature, perfect Bronson Steiner is more dangerous than anyone else could possibly be. Yeah. We then see Chase Yu getting ready for the match. Ham's mysteriously absent. And he goes, well, we couldn't find Hammy tonight, but, that's a big night for Chase Yu. I think it's Thea Hale and Haley Pole against Indy Hartwell and Pleasure Parada in a tag team match. This could help really, improve your standings in the women's tag team division, girls. And, just to make sure that everything goes right out here, we've hired a superintendent for the day, to watch Chase Yu's back. And, of course, it's Keith Lee. Greetings and salutations, miss. I think it's going to be, an excruciating bout out there tonight, but I do have belief and faith that Mr. Andre Chase and his university can pull through here tonight and prove that we are the greatest university here in World Wrestling Entertainment and beyond. Chase Yu. And they will go out for the match. Gets a 58, which is actually pretty good, considering, it's a bunch of people who aren't really important. I think Indy Hartwell is the only person who's recognisable here. But yeah, Haley Pole and Thea do win. Yeah, it says here, Thea Hale pinned Indy with a roll-up. That's the finish. But it's more than that. Indy, of course, is having this bit of a weird, thing recently where she's been losing a lot. Persia's come back. She's tried to, drop the good girl shit, be cheating and, be a little bit of a bitch and then you'll get ahead. So, Persia tries to cheat in this match. But Superintendent Lee, of course, is at ringside to prevent it. He, takes the weapon out of her hand or whatever and she's, shouting at Keith. And then when Indy sees her shouting at Keith, she's gets distracted by that, which allows Thea to roll Indy up and pin her. So yeah, Superintendent Lee has helped Chase Yu to a victory here tonight. 47 for Persia, 60 for Indy, 42 for Thea, and a 50 for Haley Pole. Yeah, Chase Yu, their celebrations continue to the back after the break. When we do see Hams, but she's with Dexter Loomis. And Chase it's that guy, it's Dexter. And Dexter sort of just looks across at him. And Morgan goes, Hammy, what you doing? She goes, this man, he wants to speak to me. Morgan goes, well, what did he say? He said, next week he wants Chase Yu Valentine's Day. And then Andre Chase is like, well, with who? And then Dexter Lewis sort of just walks off. And they all sort of just look around confused and Keith Lee shakes his head and goes, that man, he's a bizarre one. So yeah, Dexter Loomis. There's somebody in Chase Yu that's caught his eye, but we don't know who it is. Then cut to Alba Fyre and Iona Webb backstage. They're doing spooky witch shit. It's a pre-tape. And we show, splices and video recaps of, their matches, and specifically them throwing the fireball in Tatum's eye. And then they announced that on Heat, we're actually pre-announcing a Heat match ahead of time. It will be Alba Fyre and Iona Webb against Tatum Paxley and Ivy Nile. To blow off this mini feud. Adequate. That's a lot better than the awful I think she had last time. So she might be doing better now. Isla Dawn. It should be good. 73. Trick Williams versus The Miz. It is what it is. It's Trick Williams versus The Miz. Tricky beats him in 10:05 with that tricky kick. 64 for Trick, 65 for The Miz. Yeah, not too shabby. But after the match, Tricky does get on the mic. And he goes, let that be a lesson to anybody who wants to get in my way and, play about in Trick Williams' business. Carmelo, when I get my hands on you, you're going to end up looking a lot like The Miz. So don't think you can run and hide forever behind your Nigerian giant, Mello. Because the second I see you, it's on sight. Slams the mic down. Tricky with a statement. Big win here tonight. You see William Regal is with the Creeds backstage. They're training. And he like sort of orders them to like, you know, gather around and watch the TV. And he's showing like the Royal Rumble. And we see Gunther win the Rumble, and he sees Jamie Hayter win the... Who the fuck is that? Florence win the Royal Rumble. And he like goes, well, you know, Julius and Brutus, you are one of the greatest tag teams here in WWE today, and I can take you to greatness, because what you just saw, you know, Gunther, Florence, two people I know very well, two people who I helped mould into the superstars they would later on become, Royal Rumble winners that they would become. And now, my next step is not to help elevate them, it's to help elevate you, Julius and Brutus Creed, the future SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Speaking of old Regal Coalition members, then see Ilya Dragunov. You know, it's a video of him, like, at home. And he says, normally, any normal man who went through what I went through at the Royal Rumble, he'd be sit back, he'd be bedridden, and he'd wonder where it all went wrong. But for the Mad Dragon, it's quite clear where it all went wrong. I wore my heart on my sleeve. I will fight, and I will get up, and I will get up until I physically cannot get up anymore. And that's when Gunther, he took advantage of that. So congratulations, Gunther. You deserve that Royal Rumble victory a lot. I'm not going to say you didn't, because you quite frankly are one of the only few men on this planet to ever take the Mad Dragon to his absolute limits. But let this be one lesson perfectly clear to you, Gunther. Do not challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. Because if you win that championship, you will once again be in eyes and the target of the Mad Dragon, the one man on this roster who has your number. But if you don't choose the World Heavyweight Championship, then at WrestleMania that championship will belong to the Mad Dragon. Because I won't let a Royal Rumble defeat hold me back. It will only light the fire inside me stronger. Whether it's LA Knight or Swerve or anyone else who wants to get in my way. My vision is clear. My warpath has been mapped out. 'Cause I am going to become World Heavyweight Champion. And you will all live in the era of the Shah. 76 is actually not terrible for a Fallon Henley match. It's bad for an Asuka match, but it's fine for a Fallon match. Asuka's gimmick is getting stale. That's why her rating actually seemed to do a bit weaker than normal here, which is fine. Asuka she's getting a bit of a different direction. It's coming soon. So, you know, I can change it then. But yeah, she does pin Fallon with a spin kick. 79 for Asuka, 51 for Fallon Henley. After the match, Asuka celebrating. Utami jumps her. You boo, you know. Fuck you, Queendom. Asuka is an op of Queendom, of course, but we haven't seen her since Armageddon. This is her first SmackDown back since then. And Utami just lays her out. You know, sending a message, you know, but Cammy said earlier on, we'll see where Queendom stands. Because Dakota's got to face Piper in the main event tonight, which is actually coming up next. And Utami, you know, she's tried to take care of Asuka as well as she can. Next week, though, we've got 2 championship matches announced for a special championship. Well, it's not a special championship, it is a SmackDown. There's just 2 championship matches announced. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, SmackDown Tag Team Champions, defend their belts against Daniel Bryan and Miles Bourne, you know, after they picked up a win over Death Above, Grand Metalik and Zay Dorado earlier on tonight. And speaking of Death Above, their United States champion, Pistolero, puts his title on the line against Pete Dunne in singles action. You know, Pete looking for his one. I don't think he ever got his one-on-one rematch for the title because it was a 4-way at Survivor Series. But yeah, Pete Dunne and Pistolero next week for the US title. And for the Elimination Chamber, 2 matches on the SmackDown side have been announced. The first, as we saw earlier on this week, the Bloodline, Queendom Civil War, as Io Sky and Dakota Kai will team up to face off Tegan Nox and Piper Niven for the Women's Tag Team Championships at the Elimination Chamber in Dublin. Plus, just made official earlier on tonight after their heated exchange for the World Heavyweight Championship. It will be LA Knight against Swerve Scott for the belt in Dublin. 75, bad main event. They don't click, apparently. And the finish probably fucked away for it, because I didn't want to beat either of these people. So, you know, Dakota gets disqualified. Piper Niven wins by DQ in 14:06. 59 for Piper Niven, 76 for Dakota Kai. Which, I mean, technically, if you really want to be technical about it, is a defeat for Dakota. So, you know, but it doesn't really matter because, you know, once Dakota gets DQ'd, Tegan runs out to try and save Piper. The rest of Queendom are out there. And a Queendom beatdown, you know, of these two, you know, moonsaults to both Piper and Tegan. And Queendom standing tall to end the show. 87, actually. That's actually not bad, considering the 75 rated main event. You know, that's actually a good rating. I don't know why it was so good. There wasn't really any blow-away matches on this show. But yeah, I'm not going to complain anyway. I'll see on the other side for Velocity. Velocity kicks off with RJ City backstage. And he's talking, you know, he wants to really, you know, heading into WrestleMania season, you know, the competition on Velocity is really picking up. So, you know, it's time to find the next challenger for the championship. And they're going to do so with like a mini 8-man tournament of such. First two tonight, first two, the next two next week. And yeah. The matches tonight are Ricochet against Anthony Nese and Rey Mysterio taking on David Martin. So they should both be fun. But before then, we do have a 6-man tag match, a trios match, to kick off the night. It is Dante Rios, Drew Gulak, and Oney Lorcan picking up the win over the Terminal Velocity and Angelico. Oney Lorcan pins Ty Marley with the flying blockbuster. 64 for Oney, 82 for Drew Gulak, 70 for Dante Rios, 72 for Angelico, 57 for Toby Marley, and a 73 for Ty Marley. Yeah, another big win for these three, who are, you know, getting a couple of wins recently under their belt, you know. It's almost as if they could be getting coaching from off-screen, but we don't quite know what that's about yet. 73, Ray, you know, he's not really been doing much on Raw recently. I do have a thing for him at WrestleMania, but I guess for now he can chill over on Velocity, add some credibility to this show. So yeah, he defeats David Martin, 11:47 for 619 into a flying splash. 64 for Ray, 72. David Martin actually outscoring Rey Mysterio. You know, that's the world we live in here. And then we do move on to our main event, which gets a fucking 8. Anthony Nese. You know, this is like the third time I've been like, okay, I'm going to put Anthony Nese in this match because he's got nothing going on. So, you know. And then he's ended up doing really well. So, you know, maybe he does need to come back because he's really fucking good in this game for some reason. But he does come up short against Ricochet. Ricochet beats him in 13:32 for 6:30, 92 for Ricochet, 77 for Anthony Nese. And yeah, that ends Velocity, which gets us an 82. You know, the best match of the entire episode was on Velocity today. You know, make of that what you will. But what matters more than this is what you thought of the show, mainly of SmackDown, and this week's edition of Queendom Law. So just let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I'll see you next time for Raw. See you then.